I'm driving a beater car, and I think that if you want to be wealthy, you should also be driving an old and used car. I got my driving license about 5 years ago, and during this time period I had two cars. The first one was a Volkswagen Vento, released in the year 1995, with about 250,000 kilometers on it. Vento was just a great first car, with which I made lots of memories, and it will definitely forever stay in my heart. I drove it for about 2 years and then sold it, since I got the opportunity to get my hands on my current car, which is an Audi 80. This German beauty was released in 1993, so as of today it's 31 years old and has about 184,000 kilometers on it. It's also a great car which is still going and fulfills all of my needs despite being way older than I am. I am actually very much impressed by the 90s German car engineering. It was a time when cars have been made by engineers, not by the marketing teams, and I definitely can feel it, and I'm really proud of the fact that I have a chance to drive in these legendary cars before Europe switches to soulless and soundless electric vehicles. So why do I drive such an old and, as one might think, an unreliable car? There are actually several reasons for that. I am pretty young, and that is why I think that every dollar that I invest today will go a very long way after that for me. So that is why I am trying to save and invest as much as I can today, so I hopefully will be a little bit wealthier in the future. And that is why I do not want to spend lots of money on car, right? That is why I want to invest and save as much money as I can, and driving a beater of course helped me with this particular task. It's also important to mention that I'm saving money for real estate, since that is an asset which is necessary to have, as well as the asset which is pretty much guaranteed to grow in price in the long term. Another reason why I do not want to buy a new car or even a newer used car is the fact that this is actually a depreciating asset, since everybody knows that cars pretty much never grow in value. Of course we can speak about some exceptions when you have a rare sports car and stuff like that, but for most of us it's not the case, and it's not the case definitely for me. And due to that, I do not want to buy a new car, since it's depreciating asset. If I will go and buy a new car from the saloon, let's say, and I will drive with it from the saloon, it will lose like 10 or 20% of its cost, which is an insane amount of money, considering that actually a new car costs actually a lot, let's say 20, 30, 40 and even more $1,000. So I just do not want to lose money on this asset, at least right now, while I am young and, as I said, trying to build wealth. You can also say that I might buy a car which is not as new, also a used car, but which is way more young than this car, right? Something like a Toyota from 2010 or 2015. It's not gonna cost a lot of money, but it's gonna be way more comfortable than this 30-year-old Audi. And the thing is about that is that I think that in these newer cars, which are still pretty old, let's say 10 or 15 years for a car is a lot. It's a long period of time also. It's not as much as 30 years, but it's still a lot. So if I will buy this car, which is, let's say, 15 years old, it will be much more comfortable. It will have like air conditioning, better quality of sound and yada yada. But the thing is that this car is gonna have way more electronics in it, right? And it's gonna have way more things which can break. And the thing is that cars often break, especially the electronics in not so new cars also breaks a lot. And that's why I think the cars which are like 20 to 30 years old, if you are of course considering driving one of those, if you are considering to drive beaters, those are actually very good cars, since they don't have a lot of electronics in those, right? The only electronics I has, it's like radio, which I bought and I put in my car, right? So that is the only thing which can actually break down. Everything else is mechanical, as far as I know. Of course there are some wires in it and stuff, but there is a minimal amount of these things when compared to a little bit newer cars, and I think this is a great advantage when we talk about driving a beater to save money. One more important factor is that I don't actually care about this car so much. Of course, I like this car, I think it's a beautiful German car, and I care about it in one way or another, but let's say if it will get scratched one day, or if some thief is gonna break the window in my car, of course I'm gonna be sad about it, right? And I'm gonna be thinking about it, and I'm gonna have to pay money to fix that. But I can't really compare it to the amount of stress levels that I will have if I will buy myself a new car. Let's say I will go tomorrow to the salon and will buy myself a new Toyota, right? Toyota Corolla or something, or a new Volkswagen Golf. Let's say I will buy this car and I will be constantly stressed about it, since I will be stressed about where to park it, okay? So I wouldn't want to park it in like bad areas, you know, or in areas where there are a lot of homeless people, or in areas which are not so, let's say, good and successful, right? So I will have to find a specific parking place for it. I will be constantly stressed that it will be scratched. If it will make some, weird noise or weird sound, I will be actually pissed off about it. I will be thinking about it. I will go to the dealer. I will start investigating why my new car is actually making these strange noises. But with this car, it makes hell of a lot of strange noises, actually. Every day. I drive and I hear sometimes I hear sounds and I'm like, oh, that's not good. It must break. And then it drives for like 10,000 kilometers more and nothing happens. And that's actually the thing with it, that I am not stressed about it. And in one way or another, I don't care about it as much. And I think it's a great benefit, actually.
And last but definitely not least important reason is that this car is actually really cheap to maintain.
Let's talk about some numbers here. So during this year, 2024, I paid a road tax for this car, which was like 150 euro, as well as I paid another 200 euro for repairing the car, right? Some minor fixes, some minor details have been changed. I think the oil leakage has been fixed, right? And so in total I paid for it 350 euro together, like the road tax and the price for fixing the car. I paid it to the mechanic. During the previous years, in 2022 and 2023, I paid nothing for fixing this car since it didn't break. I was just driving with it and I just paid about 120, 140 or 150 euro in the road tax, which is insanely low amount of money. It's a little bit more than 10 euro per month in taxes and things like that. In addition to that, I am of course buying petrol in order for this car to drive this car. And I am not driving a lot. That's actually a very important point here. I am not a very passionate driver and I do not live in the US. I live in Eastern Europe, and here you actually don't need car as much as in the US. So in the US it could be a little bit different, but in general I pay for petrol about 50 euro per month. So if you will add up the price which I pay for petrol and the price which I pay for the taxes and possible fixes, it will be about 65 euro per month. That's actually nothing. Let's say I will go to the Volkswagen dealership and buy myself a very new car. I saw a Volkswagen Golf, which I actually like very much. They sell the very basic model for 23 or 24,000 euro, right? Okay, let's say I buy this car, then I will pay in loans a minimum 300 euro per month. It will be more than that, it will be 300 to 400 euro just for the loan. I'm not counting in insurance, I'm not counting in advanced insurance, I'm not counting in taxes, petrol and stuff like that. So now I'm paying 65 euro per month. If I will buy a new car, I will be paying close to 400 euro every month. So now I'm actually saving about 300 to 350 euro every month, which I can invest and which grows with the time. Markets are sometimes booming, sometimes not, but actually if you invest every month 350 euro, it takes you a long way. And that's my logic behind driving a beater, and that's, I think, a very great point.
One very important factor due to which I drive this beater is that I actually have this pretty strange, let's call it, ideology. I can describe it in one sentence. It's better to be able to afford a new car than to drive one. I know it sounds strange, but this actually has been the case for me for many years now. I am blessed with an opportunity to go to the car dealership right now, pay a big down payment and drive away from there in a new Toyota, Volkswagen or even not so fancy BMW. However, the fact that I have this money saved and have an understanding that I can actually afford most of the cars that I see on the roads is much more important for me than owning the car itself. And it's mostly the same for me with devices, fancy clothes and other things. If I know that I can buy it, I am good without it.
At this moment you can ask me, if driving a beater is so good for your finances, will you be driving a beater all your life long, right? So you will never buy yourself a new car. Of course no. Of course no. This beautiful Audi is actually a very nice car, but it's not comfortable. It's not comfortable by any means. It actually doesn't have proper air conditioning, so in the winter it's cold to drive in this car, but in the summer it's of course very hot to drive in this car, right? Of course it's not comfortable. I think it doesn't actually have airbags. Which is insane. I am not sure how it can be legal, but I suppose that this car doesn't have airbags, since I do not see the sign of airbags anywhere in this car, okay? And yeah, it's of course it's manual. There is nothing, as I said before, regarding electronics, so it's not comfortable. Of course it's not comfortable. It's not accelerating too fast. Of course, as a man, I want to drive a fast car, you know. Of course I have such a dream. That's my want, and I will probably do it one day. But I think that I will buy myself a new car when I will be able to afford it, since right now I don't think that spending 300 and 400 euro per month is actually cost it, right? I think it doesn't bring any value to my life. At the moment in time, when 350 euro or 400 euro per month will be to me, comparatively, right, the same amount of money as to me right now is 65 euro, I will go and buy myself a new car. But this might happen only if I will be investing my funds now, which I am doing right now. This can happen only if I will be growing my wealth, right? And so that is my logic behind it. I don't think that I will be driving a beater all my life long, of course no.
It's important to say that I do not think that every person should be driving a beater, by no means. In fact, I know lots of people who are driving great and very expensive cars and can afford those. In this video I am describing my situation.
And I want to add that I am pretty young, right? I don't have kids. I can drive this car. I mostly drive this car on my own, right? So I am risking only with my own safety, and I am a pretty safe driver. But I don't think that when I will have kids, I will be driving such a car, even if it still will be too expensive for me to buy a new one. I will probably go and buy a new one, since I will care about safety of my kids more than I will care about wealth of mine. That's why I think driving a beater is a great idea for young adults who want to, you know, build wealth, but at the same time do not have as many responsibilities, right? Since I don't have many responsibilities, that is why I can drive a beater, and that's why I think it's actually a great idea to drive one.
If you are in your early 20s and also are on your way of obtaining wealth, I can very much recommend you to drive a beater, since it will allow you to save and invest lots of money, which will grow with the time, unlike the price of a new car, and you will definitely thank yourself later. If you did enjoy this video, do not forget to join my Discord server, where I will be more than happy to discuss this or any other video of mine. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.